to me is a killer. I will establish the tabernacle of David, which has fallen, in both speeches. In James's speech, where else in the whole New Testament do you have anyone even mention that passage? And why should it be James, the just, the righteous one? In every place you see in the Dead Sea Scrolls, you see righteous one, it's interpreted as the righteous teacher. Every place in a scriptural passage in Psalms or Habakkuk or any of these others, it has to do with the righteous teacher. So the righteous one, the tzaddik, is the morei tzedek. Morei ha-tzedek, teacher, ha-tzedek of righteousness. Tzaddik, righteous one. Now here's a very puzzling thing. So we're getting esoteric exegesis like Paul. The king is the community. In Corinthians, Paul talks about Jesus as the community. The members of Jesus' body are the community. Ephesians does the same thing. So we're getting the similar imagery, but obviously with a different thrust. And the base of the statue, they are the books of the prophets, whose words Israel despised. So it's critical of Israel. And now here's a new thing. We're going to go on to the star prophecy. And the star is the interpreter of the law who came to Damascus, or the seeker of the law is what it really is saying. The seeker of the law who came to Damascus. We just heard about all those who seek the Lord and so on. This is the seeker of the law, or the interpreter. As it is written, and now this is supposed to relate to the star prophecy. A star shall go forth from Jacob, a scepter shall rise out of Israel. That's the messianic prophecy. Who is this star who came to Damascus? I can't tell you. But it's someone very important. And what is Damascus? Well, in the book of Acts, who goes to Damascus? Paul. But it's not Paul, I can assure you. Maybe someone opposed to him. I don't know who it is. But Damascus is very important in the book of Acts. Paul escapes down the walls of Damascus as I read you earlier, from the Jews who were supposedly trying to kill him. But in 2 Corinthians, he escapes down the walls of Damascus by his own testimony to escape Aretas, the representatives of Aretas who want to arrest him. That's a real shift there, from the Jews who want to kill him to the representatives of the Arab king Aretas who want to arrest him. And don't forget, as I've told you several times earlier, John the Baptist, if you read Josephus' Antiquities 18, book 18, is caught in the midst of a mini war between Herod the Tetrarch and Aretas, because the Arab king in Petra, because Aretas' daughter had been married to this Herod the Tetrarch. He's also known as Herod Antipas. Now this is not from the New Testament. This is from Josephus. So none of you can have any real escape mechanism on this one. You know, everyone has to figure it out. Herod Antipas, Herod the Tetrarch. Who is he? He's one of the sons of Herod the Great, if you want to call him that. I hate to use that word. I'd rather call him Herod the Terrible. I didn't have time to finish the whole Herodian realm from reading through Josephus, but presumably you read pretty much far and you see how awful he is. He's an incipient Saddam Hussein, killing people in his own family and everything like that. He's a murderous, horrible person. And I say that advisedly. I don't usually say that about people, but he's one of the worst people you can read about in history. He's just an awful person. And if you were living under him, you'd be ready to follow a messianic uprising yourself, I can tell you that. Or you'd get out. One of the two. You'd get far away, or you'd fight. And that's what happens, I think, here. Okay, so the scepter, let's see, scepter is the prince of the whole congregation. I told you about the Nasi Kol HaEdah. It appears in the War Scroll and appears in some other messianic materials. And he's also called the Messiah of Righteousness in this other new material that we publish. So that is definitely a messianic allusion. The scepter is the prince of the entire congregation. That's the question I asked at that Scrolls conference the other day I told you about, where I said if you weren't looking at the paleography or the carbon testing or things like that, and you just looked at the war scroll where this Nasi is also mentioned, where would you put that? And the only person who is Nasi Haida, who is called also a star or scepter, is Bar Kokhba. You say, I've never heard of Bar Kokhba. Bar Kokhba is his eponymous name. He is not really called Bar Kokhba, he's called Bar Kosiba. Who is he? The leader of the uprising of 132 to 136 against Hadrian, the Second Jewish War. But there's no Josephus, as I told you, to document it. So, what's the upshot of it? Worse than the First Jewish War. More destruction, more killing, total, leaving the land completely, ruined. And retribution that isn't clear because we don't have the clear record of it. But Bar Kokhba himself is either taken prisoner or killed in battle in a place near Bethlehem called Betar, B-E-T-A-R. It's described in some of the Roman texts and a little bit in the Talmud. The Talmud does tell us about Betar. The Talmud is against Bar Kokhba. The only rabbi who is for Bar Kokhba is Akiba. Akiba clearly designates Bar Kosiba. Bar Kokhba plays on his name with the star meaning, the star over Bethlehem, the Hebrew star that you see on all Hebrew banners and everything, the symbol of the Jewish people. It's in my books and the pictures I have, the Balaam prophecy. Balaam is the one who did this prophecy in Numbers, and in the catacombs, the Jewish Christian catacombs in Rome, you have Balaam pointing at the star over Jesus, because Balaam is the one who prophesied about the star, supposedly. Anyway, all these people are using it. It's in the War Scroll, the Damascus Doctrine, it's in the Messianic Proof text that I have already read you, and here it is. He's the Nasi Kol Haida. But what is he going to do? And with his standing up, ha ha ha, doesn't say coming, it says arising. So is the Nasi Kol Haida, is he the same as the Messiah of Aaron and Israel in document B? You see what we're getting into here? Put them parallel, you follow what I'm saying? Yes, I think he is. The interpreter of the law came to Damascus, that's sort of like a teacher. That's not the Messiah. But the Nasi Kol Haida and the Messiah of Aaron and Israel, that is the Messiah that they're expecting, or that will come or has come or whatever, you follow me? So it's a messianic group, whatever you can. And what's he going to do? He'll utterly destroy all the sons of Seth. He's not going to turn the other cheek.